Welcome to SBRforum.com. In this video, we're taking a look at Game 4 in the NBA Finals, specifically looking at the total between the Miami Heat and the San Antonio Spurs. Now, so far this has been a series shaded towards the overs. The reason for it is the San Antonio Spurs are doing pretty much whatever they want at the offensive end. You have the Miami Heat coming into this series as the second best defensive team as far as points per game goes in the postseason. They were fifth best in the regular season. However, the doors have been blown off the house by the Spurs team that is not only versatile but is so deep off the bench, and the Heat right now are having some troubles stopping the Spurs. So what I see for Game 4, to be honest with you, I see another over, and really it's based on the fact that defense has not shined through on either side as far as this series is concerned. As mentioned, the Heat were the fifth best defensive team in the NBA in the regular season. The Spurs, traditionally known as one of the better defensive teams in the league, they were sixth in that category in the regular season. But this has not been a defensive series by any stretch of the imagination. The Spurs have crossed the 100-point barrier twice now. The Heat have been, close to it in Game 2 and not far from it in Games 1 and 3. This is not a series that has seen sort of mid-80s, high 80s, low 90s scoring. This is a series that has been definitely over in Games 1 and 3, and Game 2 was pretty darn close. For me, I think that the issue for the Heat is they really don't match up well with this Spurs team. Last year was a different story. Slap LeBron James on Tony Parker, and all of a sudden the Spurs offense is derailed just enough. As far as how things are going this year, they're putting LeBron on Parker, but the Spurs are so versatile that it's really, if they're going to slow down Parker, somebody else is going to get the job done. Beyond that, last year the Heat had a couple other defensive stoppers in the lineup. You had Haslam, who is, at least a quality defender. You had bigger efforts from Chris Anderson, and of course Shane Battier was a player that the Spurs, that the Heat could rely upon. All three of those guys, or at least 2.5, were good defensively and not a liability offensively. That half, of course, I'm referring to Anderson. This year has been a completely different story. Batty is on the bench. You got Haslam, who's on the bench. Anderson is doing his best, but he's banged up, but he's that liability on offense. And the Heat really don't have answers for the Spurs at the defensive end. They're relying on Rashard Lewis and Ray Allen a lot more. Those guys playing way more minutes than they played in the regular season, about 5 more minutes per game for Allen, nearly double the minutes per game for Rashard Lewis, and those guys are not known as defensive stalwarts by any stretch of the imagination. So you got guys like Tiago Splitter going up against Rashard Lewis, Tim Duncan going against Rashard Lewis, Boris Diaw. Other than Diaw, the other two players are mismatches. Then you got Allen running around the court trying to cover guys like Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green, even Parker at times, Manu Ginobili. I mean, it's just not working right now for the Heat, and I'm concerned about how they're going to win this series. But in the short term, for game number 4, I'm concerned as to how they're going to slow down the Spurs. Now, Spurs are not going to come out and shoot 90% in the first quarter again, unlikely, or whatever it was in the first half. I know they set an NBA Finals record. That's likely to cool off a little bit. But in the grand scheme of things, I just don't see that low 90s type of scoring result that you need to get the under. I think the Heat probably shoot a little bit better in game number 2. They play a little bit better defensively and keep this more of a contest. But I still think we're going to be very close to that over-under in game 4 and probably get above that number once more. Thanks for watching this video right here on SBRforum.com. We'll talk to you again soon.